Good morning. Today we are doing PO45. I can determine the probability of compound events. So we've been working with probability. This is our first time talking about compound events. So we've got new vocab thrown in there. We want to keep in mind that this is our last objective of the unit. So that means next week we are testing. So we need to be ready for that for next week. So if there are objectives that you go, ooh, I kind of get it, but not really, that's when you want to come and ask me questions. That's what I'm here for. I am after school on Wednesday and Thursday next week. We don't have school Monday because of President's Day. Tuesday, let me see. Tuesday, we will have the practice test, real test on Wednesday. So if you struggle with any of those objectives on the test, stay after on Wednesday so we can go through it so you can do that practice work, okay? We want to make sure we're understanding this material. Tomorrow is a review day for us, so we want to really make sure that we are reviewing it, understanding it, ready for that test next week. Well, all right, back to PO45. It is a PO, power objective. We have to pass this. It is important. Compound event is when there are two or more events occurring. Multiple events are happening. We're going to see how we find the probability when there's multiple events happening. A compound event requires multiple successful outcomes. Everything must happen exactly. So let's look at this. There are 8 red marbles, 5 blue marbles, and 7 white marbles in a bag. What is the probability of choosing a red marble, replacing it? Remember back to that objective when it really mattered to know, are we replacing it or not replacing it? Because that changes the total outcome. That's our bottom number. So if you're replacing it, that total outcome stays the same. If you're not replacing it, it changes. And then you choose a white marble. It has to be in that order. What's the probability of choosing a red and then choosing a white the second time? So to do this, what do you think we need to do? What is the probability of choosing the red marble? That's our first thing. We have 2 events happening. What's the probability of our first event, Robbie?
36%.
Not percent. Give me the fraction for it.
9 out of 25. If you're rounding it down.
How many marbles are in our bag? There's 8 red, 5 blue, and 7 white. How many is that?
22. Wait.
Try it again. 8, 5, 7.
Oh, 20.
8,
Oh,
5, 7.
20.
20. So that's the first thing we have to do is figure out how many total outcomes there are. There are 20 marbles in the bag, and we have to slow our roll that we are not going too fast and getting that wrong number, right? It's very, very common to go, oh, I know how to do this, yeah, and we go too fast and we add incorrectly. 8 plus 5 plus 7 is 20, so we know that bottom number is going to be 20. What is the probability of choosing a red, Hadley? 8. Now, it says, what is the probability of choosing the white marble? Hadley? 7 out of 20. Now, we know our final answers we need to simplify down. We don't need to waste time simplifying down in the beginning, right? We just need to make sure our final answer is in the simplest form. So we need to, first thing is we have to figure out what our events are. So event 1 was choosing the red, event 2 was choosing a white. So I have 8 over 20 and 7 over 20. What do you think I'm gonna do with those 2 event probabilities? What's your guess, David?
You're gonna add them.
Good guess, but I am not adding them. What is your guess, Christina? Multiply. So I need to know every event, what the probability of that individual event is, and then I multiply them together. So what's 8 times 7? Michael?
56.
56. What's 20 times 20?
400.
400. Now, I don't need to leave it as a fraction. I'm going to turn it right into a percentage. I don't have to worry about simplifying. I'm looking for the percentage on this page. What percent would that be, Graham? 14%. 56 divided by 400 gets me that 14%. So let's look at our next one. This one says, what is the probability of choosing a blue marble, replacing it, then choosing a red marble? So, how many events do I have happening? Harper? 2. I have 2 events. Choosing a blue and choosing a red. And yes, I do label it. Why? Why am I labeling my events, Christina? So you know which one's which? So you make sure you're doing each event. There will be times that there are more than 2 events. We need to make sure we're doing every event. I'm telling you this because this is a common mistake that students make. They miss one of the events. So I always label them so I know what events I'm multiplying together. And I can say, okay, this is that first event, what's its probability? It's my second event, what's its probability? It's my third event, what's its probability? Now I'm multiplying across. However many events there are, you just multiply straight across. So what is the probability of choosing a blue marble? Amala? 5 out of 20. What's the probability of choosing a red marble? Christina? 8 out of 20. What math am I doing? I just have my 2 events. What math am I going to do, Amala? Multiply. So what do I get for my fraction? Harper? 40 over 400. And remember, we are turning it into a percent. What percent is that? David?
10%.
10%. What is our next one? What events do I have? Christina? So I have a white, and I have another white. What's my probability of picking the first white? Amala? 7 out of 20. What's the probability of picking my second white? Harper? 7 out of 20. I'm multiplying my events together. So what do I get? Luke?
49 over 400.
49 over 400. What percent is that going to be? Rocco? 12%. Look at our next one. What is the probability of choosing a blue marble, not replacing it, then choosing a red marble? What are my events? David,
Blue is 5/20.
so our first event is blue, which is 5/20. I know there's gonna be more than that. What's my next event, Vivi?
8/19.
Because I'm choosing a red, so I'm gonna label it blue and then red. And then you said 8 over what?
19.
Why did you say 19? I thought there were 20 marbles.
Because you don't replace the.
Oh, I'm not replacing that blue marble. So now there's only 19 for me to choose from. Makes a difference. So what is my fraction when I multiply them together? Luke,
40/380.
40/380, which is what percent? Eleanor,
11%.
11%. Now, do you see all the work that I'm doing on my board? What should I see on your paper? Should I just see percentages? Good, I like that you're showing your work. We don't just put the answer, right? We show our work. I'm saying this specifically for a reason. I have given this test many times. I know the mistakes that our previous friends have made, right? When we don't write out our events and know exactly what we're multiplying together, super, super easy to make those mistakes. We need to show each event. I label it to make sure that, and we're gonna see on the next page why it's important to put those labels on. Let's look at our next one. I know we've been working hard. What are my events that I should write out? Vivi,
8/20.
so choosing a red was 8/20. What's my next event? Addie?
Red, and then 7/19.
But, Addie, there's 8 red marbles.
You pick the first one and then you don't replace it.
Oh, I picked a red marble out and I don't replace it, so I'm only left with 7 reds. And I'm only left with 19 marbles. Good catch. Okay, so if you have to really pay attention to what you're taking out and what your next event is. Now I have to multiply them across. What fraction do I get when I multiply, Eleanor?
56/380.
56/380. What is my final percent? David,
13%.
try it again, David.
Oh, 15%.
15%. Last one on this page that we're doing together. What is the probability of choosing a red, then a blue, then a white, without replacements for any of them? So let me scroll up so we can actually see this. What is my first event, Hadley?
Red, which is 8/3.
What is my next event, Luke?
5/19.
That blue?
Yeah.
5, there's 5 blues, but we're missing one because we didn't replace it, so it's 19/20. So we had red, blue. Our next event is the white. What is the probability for the white, Christina?
7/8.
7/18. So we do 8 times 5 times 7, and 20 times 19 times 18, and what probability do we get? What fraction? Luke?
280/6,840.
And what percent does that become? Hadley? 4%. So this page is a little bit easier because it's dealing all with the marbles in the bag. We're not always doing marbles in a bag. Our second page, we have different things happening. And we need to really think about what the probability is of those different things happening. So our first one, what is the probability of flipping 3 consecutive heads? How many events is that? David?
3.
That's 3 events. We have Flip 1, flip 2, flip 3. What's the probability of flipping heads on our first flip? Hadley? What's the probability of flipping heads on our second flip? Harper? What's the probability of flipping heads for our third flip, Luke? So slow yourself down. Do each individual event, then multiply across, then you're going to find that percentage. Let's look at our next one. So you're going to write down your answers for that one. What is the probability of flipping a tails, then a tails, then a heads? Let's see. I want to get down to one that's a little more challenging. So if we come down, I think you guys will be able to figure that out. Rolling a dice, how many sides are on a dice if we're rolling a dice? How many sides on a regular dice? 6. So when you're rolling a dice, there are 6 sides. It's a regular 6-sided dice. If it doesn't specify that it's an 8-sided or a 12-sided dice, we just know it's going to be a regular 6-sided dice when we're rolling. Let's look down here. If you take 50 attempts until you roll a 2, then flip a head, then roll an even number, you have to really think about it. What is each event calling for? You're rolling a dice, you're flipping a coin, you're rolling. What is it that you're rolling for? Okay? That 50 attempts until you roll a 2 is your event 1. Flipping the heads is event 2. Rolling an even is event 3. So really find your events and what the probability is of each individual event. Then multiply across. Does that make sense? Okay, so we are going to finish working on this page. Keep in mind tomorrow is review day, so we are correcting tomorrow. Normally on Fridays it's a retake day, but we're done with our retakes from that last test. We're going right into the review. So that week, next week Friday can be a retake day for our next week's test. So we're going to do practice test Tuesday, real test on Wednesday. Thursday we'll get it back and go over it, and we can start those retakes right away on Friday of next week. Okay? So today you're working on this. If you have questions, you want to check if you're doing it right, bring it on up to me. If you're watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.